Hi, this is Jonas DeVita with Access Commercial Doors on the third episode of Open Doors. And today I'm going to be talking with Anthony Mastroianni from Trimco Products and Dan Arthur of PJ Polke. And we're going to talk about some things that these guys have. They're going to help, help create and maintain safe workplaces. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, Anthony, let's tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Jonas. My name is Anthony Mastroianni, and I am the sales leader for Trimco Hardware. I live in Saratoga Springs, New York. I've been here for about 8 years. I lived in Baltimore and California before that. And thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on.
Same here. Glad to have you.
And thanks again. My name is Dan Arthur, and I live in New Jersey and serve the Metro New York area. I've been in the door and hardware business pretty much my whole life, 40 years of my career, involved in every aspect, installation, specification, representing products in the Metro New York area. So excited to be here today.
Well, Dan, we've met a couple times before, and I love your story about how your father gave you the phone book and told you to start calling all the guys that own, all the building owners in the city. And start selling. I thought that was, I love that story.
And actually went door to door in every building in Manhattan. So that's when you actually could do that, which actually today is apropos to have this conversation today, what that even looks like, going to see people. So.
Oh yeah. My first job in New York City was selling dictation equipment door to door from my territory was 42nd to 47th Street. So it was a very lovely territory. Yep. So I remember those days. That's over. So, I have a few questions for you guys that I think they'll help out. So my first question is for Dan, and the question is pretty simple. So how do you see the current COVID-19 issue affecting the selection of door hardware by designers and end users moving forward?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, COVID-19 has affected every part of our lives and our business, and actually, when we're looking forward to getting back to going into the environments that we work in, the biggest question is, what are we going to do? What are people going to do to make their place safer? And what can we do as a design perspective? What can we do for our people to feel comfortable? And, like I said, I'm a manufacturer's rep, so I rep some design hardware stuff where it's all about how the product feels in your hand. And that's, for a long time, that's been really important, like that sensual kind of relationship that you have between your hand and the product, which actually affects your feeling about the building. Now, to be honest, nobody wants to touch anything. They don't care how it feels. It's all about almost touchless, or how can I limit the amount of touches that I can have, or how can I be safe when I touch the products that I get involved in. And I know you did something recently, but automatic operators are obviously a big part of everything. Like, they want doors to open, without touching them. And then if I do have to touch them, is there a way that I can do that is safe? And Anthony's going to touch a little bit more on that. You hear the terminology like anti-microbial. Really, what we're talking about today is something that's a little bit different. It's product that's actually made from a copper alloy that is not just protective surface, but it's actually the whole product is made with copper, and it actually kills bacteria 24/7. So we're inundated by people that are just looking for ways to get back into work and to get back to work in an environment that's safe. And so whether it's architects, end users, general contractors, everyone's all about, how do I do that in a safe way?
Okay, great. That's good info. Now, Anthony, to you, do you see any initiatives, by the government to, mandate changes in door hardware to achieve that goal? Similar to almost like an ADA sort of initiative.
Yes. So actually, recently, as of April of this year, 2020, there is a major new labor law amendment proposed by the New York State Senate. And what this would require is that any publicly funded new construction project in the entire state of New York would require the use of EPA registered, so it must be registered by the US EPA, registered solid antimicrobial copper alloy touch surfaces. And they specify some of the products that would include. And the first one they mentioned is door handles. They also mention things like bed rails in hospitals and plumbing fixtures, but it's certainly the highly touched surfaces. So US EPA registered solid copper alloy surfaces. And when they state, what's interesting is when they state the purpose of those products is that it's to improve public health, it's to reduce the amount of bacteria, the amount of virus, the amount of yeast that are on touch surfaces, and therefore to make our buildings healthier and safer.
Wow, that's that's ambitious. Be interesting to see how that gets done. Now, still with you, Anthony. How like Dan mentioned a little bit, but what are some of the how are you making the hardware antimicrobial? I understand the copper. Is it just a mix of the metals? Tell me a little bit of how that works.
Absolutely. So Healthy Hardware is the trade name, so trademarked by Trimco, for this copper nickel alloy that is US EPA registered. So I mentioned the New York State labor law amendment proposal that would require EPA registered. So Healthy Hardware by Trimco is EPA registered. It is a solid copper alloy. So it's actually the base metal is copper, but it's mixed with nickel. So it doesn't look like a penny. It looks actually like this. It looks similar to a brushed nickel or a warmer stainless steel. And so copper, and the Egyptians knew this thousands of years ago. There's actually records of them using copper in healthcare settings, believe it or not, in the BC years. Found that if they stored water in copper pots and things like that, they got less infections. And so we're using it. We bring it in a raw material, and we manufacture commonly used door hardware items like storefront door pulls or push bars for exit devices, various touch surfaces, and the base metal, the copper, because of its natural components, actually actively kills bacteria. So it's registered by the EPA as a bactericidal, meaning it kills bacteria, copper alloy. Now, this is very different than the other solutions that are out there, which are coatings. So the difference is coatings would be applied to the metal.
Yeah.
Registration to make the public health claims, whereas copper alloy actively kills the bacteria.
Interesting. And well, I mean, that's impressive. So there are coatings out there as well, but they're less effective than having the entire thing made out of antimicrobial material.
So the major difference is that coatings prevent the reproduction of the bacteria, whereas the copper alloy actively kills the bacteria.
Okay.
So it's a pretty significant difference. And in the EPA testing that was done, they found that MRSA, staph, VRE, E. coli, which was responsible for some various outbreaks, all of it was killed, more than 99.9% in less than 2 hours. So we're registered to make those claims, or companies that manufacture from that alloy are registered to make those claims. And there are side-by-side comparisons that show a pretty significant difference. So not only does it kill bacteria, but there are clinical trials, because organizations care, yes, that there's less bacteria, maybe less virus, but they also care, is it in a healthcare setting, for example, going to reduce hospital-acquired infections? And so studies that have shown a 58% reduction in healthcare-acquired infections in ICU rooms where they used copper surfaces.
Wow, those are big numbers. Very big, 58%. That's incredible. Now, Dan, have you seen, just with your clients, have you seen a greater demand for these types of hardware, and even in like different types of settings, like obviously the healthcare setting we think of automatically? Are there any settings that you've seen where there's been an increase in demand or at least inquiries about these solutions?
So, what's interesting is, Trimco didn't just start making this product. Like, they had started a division of the company called Healthy Hardware, Anthony, I think in 2010 or so. So it's been 8 or 10 years of them making the product. And it really was designed for the healthcare industry, for hospitals to prevent infections or whatever. I can tell you that in the last month, I honestly don't know of any job that's out there where there's not a question being asked. Do you have antimicrobial products? Is there a way to make this thing safer? How can we go about doing this? I don't care whether it's multi-housing, whether it's an office building, whether it's existing space, new space, existing building, new designs. Anthony's having we're having something on next week on a meeting, like a town hall kind of a meeting for architects. And the response is incredible. Like, people really are interested in getting this in every part of their building. I mean, I deal a lot with revolving doors as well, and I've been inundated even the last couple of days that people want to change the push bars on the revolving door to make it healthy hardware. Anywhere you can, we can make a product that is going to actively kill the bacteria and make people feel safer. So, and I think it's amazing. Again, we're all want to get back to doing a lot of business. This is really, it's actually exciting because, and they have Anthony can probably share with their, how Trimco goes to market, what they really believe in, but they're all about doing things, to make this place, make our world a safer place. And they're actually doing something about it that works.
Yes. Wow. That's a great point, Dan. So Trimco's mission is we make a difference by innovating, designing, and manufacturing. So we literally are inventing the products, we're designing them, we're manufacturing them, products that make the world healthier, safer, more accessible, and fashionable. And that's what keeps us inspired, waking up every day, going to work. It's not just getting the right doorknob. It's really to make a difference. So thanks for bringing up that point, Dan. That's important.
I think that was great. That makes a lot of sense. I think you're going to see demand for this grow in all different kinds of places, because last thing anybody wants to have, is any resistance, anybody not wanting to enter their buildings, whether it's to work or to be a customer. And so I think you're both right. We're going to see a greater demand for this moving forward. Well, that's all I have for today. Just want to tell you, just want to thank you guys for joining, and I'll be posting this on LinkedIn, so I'll tag you, and hopefully you like it and share it, and see if we get this message out.
That sounds great. Right. Thank you,
Jonas.
Thanks, guys. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.